Very much indeed. So now moving back to the natural order of our agenda, item 5, the Spreydon-Cashmere Community Board report to Council. And Carolyn Potter, welcome to the table this morning. Good to have you with us. Looking forward to hearing about what's been happening in Spreydon-Cashmere.
You're a tato, everyone. I even managed to cock this up when I was talking to you about the LTP. We are Waihoro Spreydon-Cashmere Community Board.
We are indeed.
Well done, me. Before we start the picture parade, I just wanted to mention the pedestrian improvements. I just want to mention the Youth Awards. We've had to allocate more money to our Youth Awards discretionary fund because we've had so many applications this year. Every single one of them is a joy, and because of the efforts of Emma on our staff, we've had an increasing number of them coming back to report to us, which is just wonderful. And they're exhausting in their brilliance, the people who apply. I just wanted to mention before we start the parade, pedestrian improvements in the vicinity of St Martin's roundabout. I also mentioned this at the LTP. It is a difficult roundabout. It's going to cause us problems in the future. The traffic engineers have responded very quickly on this issue and are putting in remedial work right now. But we will be coming back, I think, to have an upgrade on that pedestrian, on that roundabout, if not traffic lights. Yeah. So, yeah.
Not the smartest
okay.
All right, let's continue with the presentation.
Yep. This has been, I think it's been, it's more than 15 years in the making. It's a history of Eddington. We've seen an initial print run copy, which was soft covered. They came to our board to talk to us about it, and we have contributed to the writing and development of this book. It will be in hardcover. If you order now, it costs you $40. It's only going to cost $50 when it's being published. It is a beautiful, beautiful production with photographs of Eddington. Eddington, as we know, is one of our founding suburbs, along with Sydenham and Riccarton, and it is a suburb that we are trying to keep and preserve, and especially in terms of not four-laning through it. It is a suburb with a lot of character. It is adjacent to the central city. It is where Kate Shepherd lived. It is a suburb that deserves celebration, and we look forward to its launch in June, and appropriately, of course, in St Mary's Church. The Christchurch Squash Club came to see us, as they have done right throughout the development. They have moved from Chester Street, where they were before the earthquakes, and are now developing a Canterbury centre at the Cashmere Club off Colombo Street up our end in Beckenham. And we look forward to their coming. They have been a very good neighbour in keeping us in the frame as to what the development means at the Cashmere Club, and also what it will mean to our community. We are encouraging them. Phil especially had this discussion at the front of his mind, encouraging them to think very positively about our children and our high schools in our local area. We may even include Linwood High in that if they're very good. Linwood College, sorry. We may include those kids in that if they are very good. And it's a development for our area which we look forward to. It's close to opening. The Summerfield Emergency Response Hub. This is the Summerfield Residents Association and the local Cashmere Residents Association, who have set up a jointly organised community emergency hub at St Mark's Church on the corner, and they had a display and an educational program the other night, and we were in attendance. The Summerfield sign. This sounds like nothing that we should be discussing, but you've no idea. The Summerfield suburb has not got a sign that directs people to the Summerfield suburb, and it hasn't got a sign which says the Summerfield suburb. And apparently there's lots of rules, urban rules, about why it hasn't got a sign and why it shouldn't have a sign. But we have been working on this for years, and we are totally thrilled that we have now got a sign for the Summerfield suburb, and so is the Summerfield Residents Association, which is one of our most active residents association, and thanks be to Mark Miller, the entrepreneurial traffic engineer who bobs up now and then when you most expect him to come because you need him, and he's the one that has been helpful in this issue. There it is. Summerfield exists. You don't exist unless you have a sign that directs you to it. The next one is Cherry, which is was one of the first preschools in our area. She was on the Cherry was on the kindergarten committee with me at Fisher Ave Kindergarten all those years ago, and she has set up. She has received several Enviro preschool awards for her preschools. This one is you would pay money to have your grandchildren or children attend this preschool. It is divine. It has got beautiful shelter, vegetables planted, water plantings, fruit plantings, everything's recycled, including the furniture that's used on the premises. The kids are encouraged to think environmentally. They welcomed us with pōwhiri, whakatau probably, and it was lovely. And we had several community board members there and Councillor Scandra. Did you go, Phil? I can't remember. To that one? No. Didn't mean it to sound like that. We engaged with the community, both in formal engagements on the long-term plan, and we also went to New World Supermarket, the Barrington Malls, the coffee shop and Hill Morton High to talk about it with youth. The community garden, we had both the Community Pride Garden Awards and the Edible and Sustainable Garden Awards this time around. We haven't got photographed for the Garden Awards, but that was over 150 people receiving awards for their gardens. It's an occasion of terrific joy. The people who receive the awards are thrilled. We're thrilled to be there amongst them. We have a lot of food and we have a great time. This is a brand new award. We've copied off other community boards. I'm not naming them. No, I'm not naming them. They've had their credit. This is our time. No, this is our time in the sun. Edible and Sustainable Garden Awards. We had how many people? 24 people receiving awards on this occasion. It was at the Old Stone House. Was it? Yeah. 37. And we sat round tables in the Old Stone House. This is our first occasion for being there. Melanie ran this occasion because it was her idea, and we had the best time. Look at that for elegance. Oh. You guys, I know. Look at that. Upmarket. Bigger budget. This is our Old Stone House. How much did it cost us much? No, bugger all. And $100, and we had a great time. And it was a privilege to be there, and everybody stayed on afterwards to talk amongst themselves. And you don't see the differences in the range of people that were there. There were young people there, there were people from the Tongan community there were people from our cottages and our schools and local businesses and individuals. It was great.
And they're all growing food.
They were all growing food, and some of them doing sustainable as well. Yeah, it was great. Dion, you're not talking personally, are you, Dion? Okay, and we have two ceremonies for Anzac Day. We started with a ceremony at Loughton Gates, just with locals. A quiet little ceremony with no officials present, and we have continued that now that the Loughton Gates is no longer in our ward. We meet at the graveside of returned soldiers from the First World War in Sydenham Cemetery, and we have a quiet conversation about the people who served. We read some biographies provided by the librarians and talk about that. We say the poem, we who have grown old, we say that all together, and we hand out copies of it so that everyone there can say it together. and we have a minute's silence, and it's a lovely ceremony. In the morning, the board now takes a wreath up to the Battalion Cemetery up on Victoria Park, and that's there's Phil and Tim and Lee, whose idea it was, Lee Sampson, our community board member. It was his idea to participate in the regiment, and there he is up there on the day as well. And that, I think that's it. There's one more. Oh yes, this was yesterday. This is so cool. This is about Christina Loughton, who has worked all her life for the community. She, I met her in the Human Rights Commission because she led on the transgender campaign in Christchurch, and she had so many wide interests in the community and advocated for equity, equality, non-discrimination, and she was brave and she was hard-working and she was self-deprecating. And one of the things she absolutely loved was buses, and she campaigned for buses as well. And there we have Christina's partner Elspeth on the left and her brother Paul on the right, and the rest of us were there as well. And afterwards we put a plaque on the wall of the bus, and it's there, and it talks about Christina Loughton, who died 2 years ago, who was brave and tireless on behalf of the community. And afterwards we went next door to our community centre at Waihora and had cream scones and sausage rolls, and she would have been thrilled. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, and thanks for the detail on the morning tea as well. It's good that we know that.
I ordered the cream scones. I'm very fond of cream scones, as you can tell.
Now, we do have time for a couple of questions. Pauline?
No, oh, we should have done that.
Yes, we'll send it through. No, we'll send it through. Yeah.
Can we do that, Grace? Yeah. I'm not quick on the uptake on things like that. We should celebrate people like this because she was so brave, and she was tireless, and she was never self-referencing. Never self-referencing.
Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Vicky and then Glenn.
Would you just like to tell us a wee bit more about the Edible and Sustainable Garden Awards and what you actually did? I'm going to ask your community board as opposed to the other one.
Oh, we did.
There.
We copied people.
Oh, no, I've got no problem with that.
Yeah. We went to the Horticultural Society and we asked them to help. The problem with the Garden Pride Awards is that they do drive-by inspections. So they, and it's always flowers, of course, and it's front yards. And we have, amongst the people who have great backyards, and if they have great backyards that aren't recognised in the Garden Pride Awards, they also have vegetables and fruit.
So how did you get the message out to everyone?
Oh, we put it on the newsletters, we put it in the couple of papers, we did it in the residents' associations.
And so then people just entered their garden and you went around and looked at them.
But the thing about the Horticultural Society, and we pay them, but we also pay for the Garden Pride Awards, that was that they went into people's backyards and they put up, and at the presentation we had photographs of the gardens, plus sometimes some comments about what people had said about the gardens. Like, for instance, the garden that they absolutely adored was our South Intermediate.
And did they judge it and go around and do it, or did you guys do that?
No, they did.
They did.
Me judging a garden?
But it's not really a competition. It's actually just, and people can have gardens. They can have gardens in pots.
I'm just keen that we copy it. So
it's recognition, and next year we're going to emphasise as well sustainable. Because some people will want just a rainwater garden, they're not interested in growing flowers and things, they're interested in sustainability, and we'd like to recognise them as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Vicky, I'm sure there's opportunity for some offline conversation if you wanted to get your board really informed so that they could consider doing the same thing. Great. So Glenn and then Aaron, and then we'll move on. Glenn?
Yeah, just a quick question whether we could have that...
Oh, Carolyn, we're still attempting to ask you questions.
Sorry. Just wonder whether we could have that information, Carolyn, for the Presbyterian Church, of which Christina was one of its members, and didn't have an
she
easy
was a vicar.
minister time of it, and quite a difference. Would have been more accepted in the Anglican Church today, to be frank, than the Presbyterian Church. So, if we could have that, I'd like to send it on to the regional and national body.
And you're so right. She never dwelled on the pain, of which there was much in her life.
Yep.
She only dwelled on what could be done and should be done.
Right.
She was great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait,
Thank you. And then finally Aaron, and then Carolyn, you can go after that. Aaron.
Yeah, just if you could go back to the Eddington book one, that was right at the start. Yeah, it was sensational. I just wanted to say the photo on the right, Phil's bike looks too big for him.
Aaron, you're going to get yourself in trouble here.
It would be great if some of you could think about ordering it at $40. It's worth $140. And secondly, our staff have ordered several copies to keep in store as presents on the occasions that those things need, you know, when there's an acknowledgement needed.
I'd pay $400 for that bike.
All right, so we've got a recommendation to remove the report, to move the report. A recommendation to move the report. Do I have a mover? Yep, Phil and Tim seconds. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed, Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you.